coverage.
Jesus.
As per an agreement signed on November 1st of last year, let's see, he'll receive a lump sum of $675,000, health coverage for the next 18 months, and a chunk of unvested stock options and restricted shares. He will also get to keep unvested stock options worth about $23.5 million and possibly benefit from grants and restricted shares tied to the company's performance that are worth roughly $13.8 million at their target payouts, according to calculations by Bloomberg.
Holy hell.
Yeah,
So it pays to be a scumbag.
yeah.
Man, that's
Like, man,
fucked up.
and not only that, man, but like if you or I were working at McDonald's and like we got into like we violated company policy, something to that extent at least, like something that they said, well, we're going to fire you without cause, it's we're this violates our company policy. Like we would be fired and we would just receive our last paycheck. That would be it.
Hmm.
Like we wouldn't get any stock options. We wouldn't get fucking millions of dollars. They wouldn't continue our health coverage. They wouldn't continue anything.
No, hell no.
No.
No, you only get that if you're a really high-ranking executive somewhere,
Oh yeah.
which means you're probably making a decent wage in the first place. But again, I want to know, like, what do these people do that earns them that money? Like, surely these people go to school and get high degrees and shit like that, but then what the fuck are they doing all day? Like, what do you do to run a McDonald's franchise? I don't know. I'm sure it's a lot of work, but does it really take that many fucking? I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, there's probably a lot of people in cubicles somewhere doing a lot of like menial, stupid bullshit,
Yeah.
and probably shit that doesn't need to happen. I don't know.
I don't know. And there was a guy on Twitter. He used to be the direct the what was it, the Secretary of Labor or something like that. Guy's name is Robert Wright.
Robert Wright.
Robert Wright.
Never.
Yes. So he was former United States Secretary of Labor, and I follow him on Twitter. And he posted up something and obviously backed it up and whatnot. But here's his credentials, just to kind of give everybody kind of an idea here. He's a Berkeley professor, former Secretary of Labor, and co-founder of Inequality Media.
Hmm.
Yeah. So he posted something here. It said, in the middle of a pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, America's billionaires have made a fortune. And he lists a couple of like billionaires. Like, for example, Jeff Bezos made $76 billion more. Elon Musk made $43 billion more. Mark Zuckerberg made $42 billion more. And then he follows that up with, if this doesn't convince you that our system is broken, I don't know what will. And somebody else made a good point. He's like, well, it's not that the system is broken. The system is working perfectly fine for those that are rich.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to change the fucking system, obviously.
Yeah, but that's the thing is you're never going to do that because the people who are in power are the people who are in like those kinds of spots. Like I even just saw something today about like most of the U.S. Senate are millionaires.
Yeah.
So like what kind of rules and regulations are they going to pass? The ones that benefit millionaires, not
Yeah,
the ones that
the ones
benefit
that
guys
benefit
like me.
millionaires, the ones that like, oh hey, McDonald's, lobbyists, hey, we're gonna give you, $60,000, but when you pass this bill, we just want you to take out this part where we have to give our employees health care.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit.
All comes down to the almighty dollar, sir.
Yeah, it's
It's
fucking
cheaper to be a prick than it is to do the right thing. That's
yeah,
the problem.
and it's
To
like,
have
oh
a system that incentivizes actually, not being a prick.
yeah, and like there was an article I was reading too here. Where's my phone? I had this up on here. I'm so
Where's my
prepared for
egg?
everything today.
Where's my jade egg?
Ugh. How about you stick that right up your ass? Anyways,
Rubble rubble.
so all right, so I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of universal basic income, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my buddy Chris,
A lot of people be like, "That's socialist. You can't do that."
it's like, well, no, we can't do that. You just don't want to because you don't want people to have more money.
Right.
And they're like, well, no, that's going to desensitize, that's going to desincentivize, people from going to work. It's like paying people an extra like $1,500 a month. Like that does nothing for them to not go to fucking work.
Right. It helps, but it's not like, oh, cool, now I can pay, my rent with that. Like,
Yeah, it's like, okay, I can pay my rent with that, and I have like, if you have like a, let's say an apartment, $1,200 rent, whatever have you, you still have that $300 for like, and that's like just an emergency. That's on top of what you get for your paycheck.
hmm
So just in case, like, oh shit, my car needs $300 worth of repairs. Well, okay, I don't have to take this out of my, out of my savings or out of my checking account. It's right here. I have that.
yeah.
So Germany, according to this article in Business Insider, is beginning a universal basic income trial with people getting $1,400 a month for 3 years.
Wow. When are they starting that?
So let's see, when was this article written? Okay, so it's written on August 19th of this year. So I'm just going to kind of go over the bullet points on this article. It says starting this week, 120 Germans will receive a form of universal basic income every month for 3 years. The volunteers will be getting monthly payments of 1,200 euros, which is about $1,400 after convergence, as part of a study testing a universal basic income. So the study will compare the experiences of 120 volunteers with 1,380 people who do not receive the payments. So basically, a total of 1,400 people are involved in this. Only 120 of them are going to be receiving the payments.
Hmm.
So about
Interesting.
140,000 people have helped fund the. I'm sorry.
I wonder why they wouldn't do it 50-50.
I don't know.
I'm sure there's reason behind that.
I'm sure, but um, but yeah, supporters are saying it would reduce inequality and improve well-being, which I agree with. The opponents argue it would be too expensive and discourage work, which is fucking bullshit. It's
Yeah,
too
I mean,
like don't
I,
like you can't tell me like shit like that is too expensive and then just say, well, yeah, but we're gonna give this 1.9 trillion dollar tax cut to to the wealthy people. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. I'm no economics expert, but I can only imagine that there's places we can trim some fat.
yeah, there's definitely a lot of fucking places.
I mean, that's true for virtually any situation. I mean, barring someone, like who's really living paycheck to paycheck, most people can find something that they could scrap.
True, but you shouldn't have to like there's people out there that shouldn't have to choose between like, okay, do I need this life-saving medicine or should I get food for this week?
Right.
Like there's that bill, there's car payments, there's car insurance, there's repairs for your car, there's rent. If you have kids, there's an expense there. And
Yeah.
there so you're telling me somebody that's making, let's say, like $35,000 a year, for example, you're telling me that they would be desensitized to like they would be de-incentivized to work because they would get like $1,500 a month. That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either.
Yeah. So here's the other trade-off. It's like, okay, fine, you don't want to do universal basic income. I got you. Okay, fine, fine. How about this for I don't know, crazy idea? How about you pay people a wage where they can actually survive?
Yeah, and honestly, that's something where like I can't really think of a time before. Like, I mean, I guess in your 20s, things are kind of simpler, and I don't know, but I can't ever remember a time where I felt like wages were so disproportionate to the cost of living as they are now. And I could be wrong, but like we went through a Great Depression and shit like that, so I'm sure I'm wrong. But it feels in the time that I've been alive and in the time that I remember, it seems like wages are pretty tight. And going back quickly to the thing about kids, one thing that kind of does piss me off is that like we have a system that incentivizes having children because like you get all kinds of tax breaks and shit like that. You get all kinds of like aid that's an option for you if you have children. Whereas if you're just a single guy or if you're just married, even a married couple has limits on what kind of benefits they can get. But once you have kids, man, now you can start getting all kinds of other benefits just because you have children. Like it's kind of bullshit because like what if I don't want to like I shouldn't be I should be neither penalized nor rewarded for making a life choice like that. It's sort of like, giving someone money for getting married. Like or like the state, like the state giving you money to get married. No, 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 they charge you. But like when you have kids, they give you a tax break or they give you money back on your taxes like for your dependents and shit like that. So that's effectively the state the government paying you to have kids, but they don't pay you to get married. They don't pay you when you get your license. They don't pay you for all these other big life events. They're like, what the fuck?
No, like the kid thing, I don't know. It's in a way I kind of get it because it's like, okay, well, you have this, this young life that you have to support, so
Yeah.
you're gonna need that extra money for clothes, food, you know.
But then
I,
don't you think that the people having the kids should know? Like, that's the thing is like, it makes it way too possible for people who have no business having kids to have kids because I feel like you should have already thought about, like, hey, it's going to cost a lot of money. Like, maybe you should get a dog first because dogs aren't as expensive, but it's like a stepping stone. And if you can handle a dog, then hey, maybe think about a kid. But like, if you haven't thought about, hey, this is going to be really expensive, then you have no business being a parent.
yeah.
That's just my opinion. That to me is like, well, I don't have to think about it because the government's just going to give me money. So when I need the help, I can just rely on it. Like it should be there for people who need it because there's a lot of people who get fucked over, like single moms, single dads, whatever,
Oh yeah.
who wind up getting really fucked over by the system, and they need all the assistance they can get. But then there's people who just pop out kids and reap all kinds of benefits from the state and shit. It's like, come on, man.
No, I fully agree with that too, but
I'm not like anti-kid or whatever. I just think that
no,
like
you
there's
think
way too much incentive for people to have kids that it makes it way too easy for like someone to just shit out a bunch of kids and not have responsibility for it. And I think that I don't know. That's not gonna hurt. That's not gonna help anybody.
no, it's not. But again, the
Spray
system.
the gene pool too thin.
Again, the system isn't broken. It's just it definitely needs a fucking tune up.
Yeah. It's something I talk about with Pete as well, although he's big into you remember Pete we went to college with.
Yep, I
He
remember
talks
Pete.
about like police reform. He's big about police reform because he's seeing all this like all these killings of innocent people. He's getting pissed off about it, and I mean, fairly to be fair, yeah. I mean, he has every right to get pissed off, but that's a hard thing, man. Like, because I saw a video that really made me like question how I feel about the whole thing, where like this I think it was Phoenix, where these police busted in on this guy who he answered the door with a gun, and they shone the light like right in his face, and it was kind of hard to tell like what he was doing with the gun, but his hand was like behind his back, but he was definitely going to his knees, and one of the cops shot him in the back a couple times and killed him. Now it turned out that a few nights before, this same couple, there was a guy and his girlfriend, because his girlfriend came running out screaming after he got shot and was like, "What the fuck just happened?" And she was explaining like a couple nights before something similar happened where someone knocked on the door and was kind of like fucking with them. So he came to the door with the gun because he was like, "Listen, if these are punks just like fucking around, I'm gonna scare them off or whatever because I don't want them fucking with my house and shit."
Yeah.
So, but it turns out it's the cops, and it seemed like he was trying to surrender by kneel down, but they shot him anyway. And it was like this white guy, and apparently like the cops were saying like the neighbor who called it in just wanted to get them there ASAP. It turned out they were just playing video games, but like, so here's the thing, like, no, cops definitely shouldn't be doing these like killings and things like that, but at the same time, there's this other guy I watch on YouTube. His name is Ross, who said that there's a quote from a cop friend of his that he knows who said something along the lines of like, lawyers have weeks to debate decisions that we have seconds to make. And that's the thing. Like, if I were a cop in that position and I saw a guy with a gun behind his back like that, even though he's kneeling down, like, what would I think? I don't know, and maybe I would shoot him too. That's the thing. But like in a case where like George Floyd with the knee on the back of the neck, that's just a clear cut case of like that cop was
Like,
fucking murdering that guy.
yeah,
Like,
that is
he has
fucking
no
murder.
business
Like
doing
there's
that.
there's no way to beat around the bush. Like that was fucking murder.
Right. So that's the problem though. Like it's so in some situations like that, it's like okay, there's no question, there's no reason that should have happened. But in other cases like this Phoenix thing, like I honestly don't know how I feel because yeah, it sucks that this guy died and he was seemingly doing nothing wrong, but at the same time, like as that cop, you see a guy with a gun, like what are you supposed to do? Like it's either you or him, man.
Very
I,
true.
I don't know. It's one of those things like you have a split second to decide, and I mean,
Well, it's very
what would
true. But I
you do?
also like to kind of counter. Excuse me, Jesus Christ,
Jesus.
Jesus.
I was
Um,
gonna say,
but no,
didn't you get a drink before we started this?
yeah, I did. Haven't touched them yet, but
Gotta
cheers.
open it,
Hey,
motherfucker.
cheers.
Cheers.
So, anyways, but yeah, to kind of counter that point a little bit, think about this though.